Halloween is a lovely time of year. Families plan parties, hay rides, and get-togethers during the month of October. We all love finding the perfect costumes. The fall atmosphere is beautiful. The colors, the sounds, the smells. Halloween is family time, an innocent time of year. However, every decade or so, tragedy happens on Halloween. Stephen Craig Damman was born on December the 15th, 1952, in Iowa to Jerry and Marilyn Damman. Stephen's family relocated to the small town of East Meadow, New York, when he was a child. His father was stationed there. Jerry Damman worked at the nearby Mitchell Air Force Base, which I do not believe is still operational. On October 31st, 1955, Marilyn Damman took her children to the Food Fair supermarket for bread. 2-year-old Stephen and his 7-month-old baby sister Pamela. The market was a block and a half away from their home. Just before 2:30 p.m., the Dammans arrived at Food Fair. Marilyn Damman left the children outside the store and told Stephen to look after his baby sister. Stephen stood by his sister's carriage, holding a bag of jelly beans. For 10 minutes, his mother was inside the store. When she returned, both of her children had vanished. Let us not judge Marilyn too harshly. By today's standards, we would never leave our children alone. However, it was standard practice in those days. We tend to look back at other generations and frown upon their parenting. We learn as we go. I'm sure future generations will judge us harshly as well. A family friend discovered Pamela's print behind the store. Pamela was unharmed inside, but Stephen was missing. The hunt for Stephen began. Over 5,000 people, both police and citizens, gathered to search for Stephen. Police initially suspected Stephen to be kidnapped by a mother looking for a replacement for her deceased child. They looked through lists of recently deceased children and deviants in the area, but neither led anywhere. The search was called off at 6:30 p.m. on November the 1st. 28 hours after it began, and Stephen's disappearance was declared a kidnapping. Stephen was 38 inches tall, 32 pounds, with blonde hair and blue eyes, a scar under his chin, and a birthmark resembling a mole on the back of his lower calf, according to a missing persons poster. He wore blue overalls, a blue polo shirt, a red sweater with white and blue ships on the front, and brown shoes. Posters were distributed throughout the city. Residents were questioned if they had seen Stephen or seen anything suspicious that day. Marilyn was driven around the city in a sound truck by police officers. "Stevie, where are you?" she asked over the speaker as they drove. Marilyn stated that she did not believe Stephen could have moved the stroller himself because he never wanders. He's more of a mama's boy. She and Jerry begged on national television for the return of their son. They said Stephen had anemia and needed to take vitamins, aspirin, and a tonic. A month later, a college student sent the Dammans a ransom note demanding money in exchange for Stephen. They initially requested $3,000, then requested $10,000 and $14,000 in subsequent letters. Jerry Damman was suspect because the family had received several letters since Stephen's disappearance. The ransom letters had been sent by a Queens college student who had nothing to do with the man's disappearance. One popular theory was that Stephen was the boy in the box, a young boy found murdered in a box in Philadelphia 2 years after Stephen vanished. This theory was ruled out in 2003. using Stephen's sister's DNA. Around this time, the Dammans made a public plea to Stephen's kidnappers, requesting that they ensure Stephen received his vitamins and medicine due to his anemia. Following Stephen's disappearance, the family moved back to Iowa. In 1957, Marilyn and Jerry divorced. Jerry was said to have blamed his ex-wife for their son's disappearance. He later stated there had been problems for a while, stating his wife had a temperament. Based on cruelty, Marilyn was granted a divorce and custody of Pamela. Over the years, many reported sightings of Stephen, or at least boys who looked like him. None of these sightings have led anywhere. John Robert Barnes was born in Pensacola, Florida on August 18, 1955. He came forward claiming to be Stephen. A DNA test performed on John revealed that he was not Stephen. Marilyn, Stephen's mother, died in 2013, never knowing what happened to her son. She was 80 years old. Jerry, Stephen's father, died in 2020, not long after losing his wife of 61 years. In this marriage, he had 2 more sons. He never gave up hope of finding his son. I could not find any information on Pamela Damman. She was not mentioned in her father's obituary, as well as the child Marilyn was expecting at the time of their divorce. Only the 2 sons Jerry had with Charlotte and many grandchildren. Stephen's whereabouts and what happened to him on that fateful afternoon are still unknown. What became of Stephen Damman? Where did he go during those 10 minutes while his mother was shopping? And where is he now? What are your theories? Was Stephen strong enough to push Pamela's pram that far? Did someone kidnap Stephen to have a child of their own? Stephen is unlikely to remember anything from his childhood. Do you feel Marilyn did it? I am bothered that no witnesses said they saw Stephen at the store that day. If Stephen is still alive, he can be found. Children have been found by the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children dating back to the 1940s. Let me know your thoughts on Stephen in the comments.